Element Well Studio, welcoming now Haley Fisackerly, President and CEO of Entergy Mississippi. Haley, always good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Gerard. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to your audience and our customers.
Yes, sir, you bet. And I'm one of them, and a happy customer as well. So we appreciate all the great work that you and your team do. So you guys have been busy. You're in the process of constructing significant expansion in capacity and transmission to accommodate this unbelievable investment in terms of new economic projects in our state, specifically in Madison County, just a few miles north of our location here. We've got Amazon Web Services slated to build out 2 hyperscale data center campuses, and of course, critical, essential to that project was your company's ability to meet their electricity demands.
Oh, that's right. Gerard, it is exciting, and it's something I like to tell people. AWS threw us a lifeline at a critical time when we're going to have to make significant investments in serving our existing customers. A third of our generation was set to retire in the next few years. We have to make huge investments to better serve our customers, both reliably and through resiliency due to storms. And this opportunity, thanks in big part from Madison County and the leadership they showed and the governor and others to help bring this, it is happening, though. It is amazing. I drove out there just last week, 5 buildings already vertical, and we've already provided power to them now. And so they're slowly ramping. They're not do that. As you're familiar, it phases in 3 phases over 3 years. So phase 1, their buildings are up. They're putting the equipment in. Phase 2 is under construction on County Line Road, and so a lot. So it's definitely had us busy. We delivered the first substation 2 months ahead of schedule this past December and started ramping power to them in February.
Okay.
The second substation on the Costas property is under construction now, and the third one back at Canton is also started clearing of that land too. So very busy. We broke ground on the Delta Blues power station in Greenville, and now we're working through a process to get a power plant approved in Ridgeland right now as well.
Okay, so I didn't realize you guys were already providing power to those buildings.
In a very slow ramp.
Okay,
it's a ramp over time and all that, but they are they are hooked up and slowly ramping up.
Yeah. So.
And providing benefits to customers.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you're probably aware that this project proposes 16 buildings total at this point.
Yep.
We think there's going to be a lot more. I know you're aware of that as well. But at least for now, 16 buildings, about 250,000 square foot facilities each building. There are 2 different sites. One, as you just mentioned, at the Costas property here in Ridgeland, or just north of our location in Ridgeland, across the county line there, and then the other further north in Madison County in Canton, the Canton mega site, 16 total buildings. You guys are investing a bunch, though. I mean, do you know right now, Haley, what the total capital investment will be for new generation and transmission?
Well, this one will just be just over close to $3 billion between all of it.
Okay.
Now, the thing that we're investing, and people need to understand, AWS is paying the incremental cost to serve them. And so the huge benefits that our customers are getting, for example, the transmission lines serving those sites have to be upgraded to larger standards, more resilient standards, improving the flow of power into this metropolitan area. Those substations that have to be built to serve those are being paid incrementally by the customer. They are capital investments in it, but the tariff, the rate that they're paying through that covers those incremental costs, but it creates the economies of scales.
Yeah.
That's going to create the huge benefit to the rest of our customers, and that's a real benefit there at a time where we need to make significant investment to improve service.
Explain that, Haley. A little further, you're aware that there are some who have expressed significant concerns about possible rate increases to just a standard consumer to offset what is, I guess, been reported at least as a significant discount to AWS, that in fact the consumers are going to have to pay to offset that discount you guys are selling power to AWS for. Talk about that.
Well, keep in mind, large customers like this, large volume users, they do get a rate discount because of volume.
Yeah.
But their total contribution, because of the volume, is tremendously great. So keep that in mind. But like a second of all, they do pay the incremental costs, the parts that do not benefit the rest of the customers, to serve themselves. So on top of that, when you get that type of volume coming in, though, the rest of the benefits of that and the cost that they do contribute toward benefiting other customers. The legislation and the requirement the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker, and the Public Service Commission required is that they cover the incremental costs and provide extra economic benefit to customers.
Okay.
So what we're seeing going forward, they will be providing of the investments we were going to have to make to serve our customers regardless of AWS, they're going to be covering over 50% of that going forward.
Okay.
And so like the Delta Blues plant, and we had to build that. Now with a large customer, they're going to be paying a larger amount of the freight to cover that, which is going to produce that. And so after we see, now rates are going to go up, but we have seen the trajectory of future rate increases cut in half because of AWS's presence going forward on that. And that's going to be the huge benefit providing our customers and allow us to start making the investments to better serve our customers and communities.
So at least one detractor, however, has described the legislation as giving Amazon Web Services essentially a blank check to buy electricity from Entergy. Is that the case?
No, that is not the case. After the legislature passed the legislation, then we knew the parameters and what the law says. Then we sat down to negotiate the contract on these first three phases and these first three phases only. And that's where these parameters were addressed. This is where the incremental cost that they have to pay is addressed, and the benefits they provide to customers through rate stabilities that we're able to give our customers and make those investments. There is talk about could they do more? Yes, they bought plenty of land. Anything beyond that is a separate deal.
Okay.
So there's no blank check. This is tied to those first 16 buildings, and if there's any more beyond that, well, they have to meet the parameters as laid out by that legislation and provide value to all customers.
The Public Service Commission, of course, regulates the energy utility industries in our state, and it's being reported that the PSC has no oversight over this particular project. Explain that for us.
Well, that's the part that makes me a little nervous because that's not true. What's different is they had to speed up the front end part. You know, for this opportunity to come to Mississippi, if it could not have been delivered in 3 years, it was gone.
Yeah,
it was
that's
gone.
right.
So how do you speed up through the permitting and review process? So it granted the convenience of necessity that we need a certificate of convenience and necessity, CCNs, but every project, each substation, each transmission stuff, each power plant, every one of those, as they are completed, they go in front of the commission for a prudency review. The legislation allowed the PSC to hire a third-party independent to review those.
Okay.
If they find anything improper or imprudent, it can be disallowed.
Okay.
Under old processes, we would have that agreed upon and approved before we would go make those investments. Under this process, to accelerate, this prudency has to come on the back end. And so that's a little nerve-wracking. So we're going to have to do a lot of work on the front end to prove and show what we're doing to manage the costs and finding the best processes going forward.
So, Haley, are they bringing in third parties, and did this come about because of just the scale, the magnitude, the complexity of this? It just makes sense to bring in folks with a greater set of expertise to be involved?
Keep in mind, the Public Service Commission is very busy, and their staff are constantly doing their day-to-day work of regulating the retail utilities in the state. So when you bring this extra burden of work in, it provides them additional hands because it is incremental, right? These filings will be made that. We also have to provide reporting throughout the year to the staff and the commission on the progress of these projects. So if anything, it provides more oversight. There are lots of projects that have come to this state in different parts of the state. You've never seen anything that has as much scrutiny as this one does. Okay.
The assertion that the legislature repealed Entergy's ability to raise rates by more than 4% per year.
No, that's they did not repeal that. We have what we call a former rate plan. It's performance-based rate making, and at any time during the course of a year, if revenues exceed by 4% the previous year, they go in for a review.
I see.
They are bringing so much revenue in, their revenue exceeds the 4%. And a good example, we had a former rate plan that just went in front of the commission just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Just
off of the forecast we're seeing it, for the first time in 6 years, there was not adjustment under the former rate plan.
Can you hang with us another
Sure,
second?
you bet.
We got a break right now. We got Haley Fisackerly, President and CEO of Entergy Mississippi, coming right back in the Element Wealth studio. Haley Fisackerly, President and CEO of Entergy Mississippi, as our guest. So, Haley, you've seen reports across the country where this massive build-out of data centers, which are, of course, huge consumers of electricity, have caused rates to go up in certain areas. Virginia is one that comes to mind. There's a huge concentration of data centers there. But it looks to me like, in all the research I've done, I want you to comment on this, that the power companies didn't properly plan for this explosion, and now they're kind of caught with their shorts off here.
So true. I mean, this happened so quickly. You know, when we first started talking to AWS 7 years ago, it was really just around data storage.
That's right.
And the whole machine learning AI came after that. But you hit the nail on the head. We were not a first mover, but we were definitely we were the second mouse that got the cheese. We were able to see that, and I think the legislation, I know the legislation, the process, and the policies we put forth in there allow us to capture these opportunities, but at the same time do it in a way that truly benefits our customers and our communities and protects them. I mean, this is transformational. It's generational. I mean, just based off, as you know, the $10 billion known, it was estimated that nearly $80 million in ad valorem taxes to Madison County. Never mind the fact the investments we're making are going to be in 5 other counties.
That's $80 million a year, folks, by the way.
$80 million a year.
Yeah.
And we're making investments in power plants, solar facilities, transmissions in 5 other counties. And now, not nearly as big, but still incremental ad valorem taxes that are going to be transformational to schools and infrastructure locally. And so it's a real opportunity.
Okay. Well, are you prepared then to say here, Haley, that you don't expect that there will be any significant rate increases, as has been asserted out there in the public, as a direct result of this AWS project?
As a direct result, no. You know, rates were definitely going up, but as I said, because of bringing this new customer in the volume, it changes that trajectory.
Okay.
And so rates will not be higher than they otherwise would have been.
Yeah.
And because we're dealing with fluctuation, you know, we saw steady increases in our rates since post-COVID because of materials, supply chain, inflation, labor costs, things of that nature. And this past year, finally, we saw that trajectory just change.
But as a regulated utility, you can't increase rates without the PSC approving it,
Exactly.
Right? And then this past year, I think I just read not too long ago, you did not request a rate increase. Is that right?
That's correct.
For the next year.
For the next year. So the first time under our former rate plan, it did not. And so, you know, there's lots of things that hit the fuel costs or a dollar for dollar pass through. And so you've seen natural gas prices go up. And that's a significant part of everybody's bill. Nearly 50 cents of every dollar just goes to pay a fuel bill.
Okay.
So that will cause fluctuation. Weather changes the amount you use that. Taxes, regulations, and material costs. We've definitely seen that. But one benefit that did allow us by this project moving as quickly as it did, in 1 year, we have seen components on power plants increase by 50% because of this nationwide demand for turbines and equipment. And so by moving early, we were able to lock down the supply chain on that and giving huge customers. Because like I said, we were going to have to build this plant anyway. Because of AWS, we're able to move more quickly with it and provide those benefits as well. So it's a huge benefit. We're seeing demand too, though. It's not just data centers. We're seeing onshoring, manufacturing. We're seeing way we use power, electrification. We're a more connected society and world today. We carry devices today.
All our homes are all wired up to the hilt with all kinds of stuff, which is a good thing.
And every time you hit an app on here, it's generating more use. If you're using AI-generated searches, they're going to use 10 times more electricity as normal. So we, the consumer, are changing that too. We could have sat back and said, hey, you know what, so what, we're going to we got to make these capital investments anyway. You got to take it, customers. No, we decided, how do we find something transformative that moves the needle and can partner with our customers and communities to help reduce the cost to serve.
Okay. In the new investments you're making, Haley, to accommodate, you said you had to do it anyhow, but my guess is the scale of that probably changed once you knew you had AWS coming in, right? So,
right. Well, we have to build more hardened facilities, storm resiliency stuff. The incremental things to serve them are going to be the substations, the solar facilities that they require. They want to be served by solar. Yep. Those things are incremental. The power plant that we needed here was going to be needed to serve our customers going forward, because we were retiring units that in the future that had to be replaced. Our customers didn't need all of them, but now they have a partner in them, and we can build them at economy scales here that provide huge benefits to that going forward.
Makes sense.
It's a real win-win for our customers.
So you talked about natural gas. Are you going to power these facilities with gas turbines? I know that's kind of the more common way and more modern way of producing electricity these days, meaning your main source of energy will be natural gas. Is that true? So
keep in mind, when any customer is served, they join the grid. Okay. And so, yes, we are adding more gas generation. We're adding solar. We have nuclear on our system. All of those things are in that, and it's in a pool, and you pull from that pool to meet your needs. So, yes, the incremental investments we're making are in some gas units, solar facilities. We had the opportunity to also acquire additional output out of Grand Gulf that belonged to one of our sister companies under a sharing agreement. Yep. That's been turned over to Mississippi, and we picked up that incremental load there. We have a partnership with Cooperative Energy, helping us meet some of the capacity as we ramp up and build our new units. So it's a real partnership there and doing that as well to make sure we're protecting customers and meeting the needs to grow.
So if the president's policies do affect the way it is expected, we might see the price of natural gas continue to decline, which would be good for the cost of generating electricity. Is that true?
You know, it's interesting. I thought, if you look at, I think you're going to have upward pressure, Gerard, if you think about it, because there's so many gas units being built all over the country right now. LNG facilities are being built and upgraded. Our sister companies in Texas and Louisiana are serving two of the largest LNG facilities that are going through massive expansions to export natural gas. So I think it is going to have some pressures. However, I was at a conference just a few weeks ago, and the head of Occidental and also some other executives from the gas industries and commodity experts were forecasting what I thought were 50 cents to $1 type increases. Now, that is still some, but I still think of the days in the early 2000s when we saw $10 and $12 an MMBTU. Yeah. Forecasts now are in that $4 to $5 range, which is still up. But the units we're building are more efficient. So the Delta Blues unit is nearly 50% more efficient than the one it's retiring. The one we're retiring is at a 14,000 heat rate. This one is less than 7,000. So you get more output with less gas. So that creates a huge efficiencies and savings to customers, too.
And there's also efficiencies in the IT gear as well. AWS has said, hey, look, because of advances in power draw technology of all this equipment, we're going to be able to install more equipment and still draw the same amount of power, which is good for us because that means more ad valorem taxes and more investment and so forth.
Exactly. I saw where NVIDIA projected that they could see a 90% improvement in efficiencies in those. What you mean is they're going to just be able to put more processors into those
more
buildings.
dense,
Yeah, that's right.
So concerns that you've heard in the public about solar, talk about that and how that's consuming land and just other issues people have with it.
Well, I've definitely heard that. A lot of people think of it's impacting agriculture, and you're seeing some of that happen. It's starting to plateau somewhat now. I think economics, the big beautiful bill is going to have a huge impact on that when the production tax credit's there. But so far, what we've been able to do, for at least from our side, serving our customers, is where it makes sense and when customers are willing to pay for that incremental cost. Okay. And that ensures that it's done in the right way. We're still paying the ad valorem taxes, seeking a slight fee in lieu. There are some counties that have been using the full 90% that the legislator granted. Yep. So they probably won't see quite that, but at least it comes at the bottom end. But it does provide those benefits. But I think the concern is not as great as people should have, and I think the contracts behind them, the way to build these in a way that's responsible, and also to to decommission them later in life are there.
Still being debated, but are there any provisions, Haley, in the big beautiful bill that could translate into higher rates for Mississippians and for your customers?
Well, for example, into our forecast under the previous law, you have production tax credits around nuclear, around renewables. The power plants we are building will be using carbon capture capabilities. There's production tax credits for those. There's various supply chains. There's excise taxes if certain percentage of your supplies are foreign owned. That's concerning, because I appreciate trying to drive onshoring, but right now a lot of the materials come from foreign countries, so those excise taxes could drive our costs up. That's concerning. So we're trying to watch it all. It's still in the sausage making process, and we'll see where it shakes out.
But before we go, when it lands, if that necessitates a rate increase legitimately under our law, you still got to get approval by the PSC, right?
Still has to review. We have to show them why those.
You have to justify it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's outside. That's a normal course of business.
That's just being a part of a regulated utility.
That's right.
Yeah. Haley Fisackerly is the president and CEO of Entergy Mississippi. Thanks for coming in, Haley.
Thanks, Gerard. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're coming right back, folks, in the Element Wealth Studio.